Welcome to Universal Talk. On today's show, we ponder being one with nature. Let's present the case. First, we must consider the connection between all living things and the ebb and flow of nature. Is this what is meant by the circle of life? If this is true, then can an individual truly be one with nature? And finally, is everything connected? What if there was no separation in anything, whether animate or inanimate? What if all things were connected in some way? And what if, or what could possibly connect all things? In a moment, we will have Ramanathan Iyer on the show. He is a spiritual counselor and an intuitive healer. He is a frequent guest on our Universal Talk teleconference that is held every Wednesday live through Blog Talk Radio. His focus on the physical is through the Paradise Diet and Lightning Fitness System. Ramanathan Iyer, welcome to Universal Talk.
Hi there.
So how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm having fun this morning.
Great. Okay, so can you tell our viewers what your perspective is of being at one with nature, or what does this mean to you?
Well, I feel that, by the way, is my volume level okay?
Yes.
I feel like we're all a part of nature, and that nature is what the body is. Like, imagine like waterfalls and sunshine and foxes and flowers. Imagine a human form filled with all those things, all these different elements of nature. A human body filled with the rain and the clouds and lightning, and that's really how the human body works. Our body is a living composition of the various elements of nature. So when you begin to spend more time with nature and understand her, then you understand the human body. If you spend a lot of time with the human body, studying it from the inside out, then you begin to understand nature. You'll realize they follow the same pattern. There's actually a fundamental pattern of life. You could think of it as a sort of cosmic DNA code. Every cell of your body shares the same DNA code, and in a larger sense, every being in creation shares a sort of common cosmic DNA pattern. And we each utilize that DNA code in different ways, just like the cells in your hand don't use the DNA code of your body the same way your feet cells do, but they have the same code. A fox doesn't use the same code of life the way you do, but we carry the same cosmic code of life. So there is this cosmic DNA code that unites us all. So nature is one family, and we all use the code slightly differently. So
there is a connection between all things.
There is a universal cosmic pattern of life that unites all forms of life.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's interesting. So how are we connected to such things like inanimate objects maybe, or more solid objects? Like you mentioned the fox, but what about like a rock or something like that?
Yeah, well, rocks have their own levels of consciousness. A rock corresponds to your bone system. Your bones are the rocks of your body. A waterfall corresponds to your arms region, the pelvic sphere, and your emotions. There's correspondences everywhere. Every atom is alive. So, this idea of inanimate matter is kind of a broken concept, is an outdated thing, because atoms are very conscious and very loving and very gentle creatures, and we're made of them, and they make up all forms of life. So if the foundation of life is conscious, you can sure bet everything else that's made of atoms will be conscious.
Mm-hmm. So do you feel that all matter then, anything that we could perceive and then maybe some of the things we can't perceive, are connected in some way through this consciousness, what you speak of?
Yeah, you wonder how sort of all life might be connected, what exact medium connects us all, and think about what connects us all to the planet. We're all anchored to the planet by this force of gravity, so whether it's daytime or nighttime, or wherever in the world you are, there's this force keeping you to the planet. And that universal binding force of gravity is also what unites us all magnetically, mentally. And all forms of life communicate mentally through this magnetic network. There is a sort of cosmic internet, and it's run by the suns. The solar network creates this universal network that you tap into, and as a creature of nature, you use this magnetic network to communicate.
Mm-hmm. So scientifically speaking, you put it on a DNA level that all matter has some type of a DNA, or at least all living matter. And maybe you could explain the difference between living and dead, because some people think that a rock is dead. Whereas,
yeah. All right. Well, we as humans have an anatomical arrangement, and if we're not breathing, we die because we have certain nutritional requirements that a rock doesn't have. But, a rock likes certain things too, and it blossoms under certain conditions. It's happy, and rocks have emotions. A funny example, one time I was walking through a stream a couple of years ago, and I just wanted to start picking up rocks and throwing them around, and I was doing this for about half an hour because this was relatively recently. I was throwing these rocks around the stream for about half an hour before I even realized what was going on. I was like, why do I feel this compulsive urge to throw these rocks around? Like, I don't have this urge I feel like there's something influencing me to want to do this. And then I realized it was the rocks. They wanted to be thrown around. They wanted to move. They'd been sitting in the same place for a long time. They wanted some variety. So you can think of what enables consciousness as not being limited to the human brain and nervous system, or even the animal brain and nervous system. Think of consciousness as sort of always being there, and it expresses in different ways through different forms. A tree doesn't really have a brain and nervous system per se, but it's still alive and conscious, and you can talk to them and tune into them, and they still have emotions, and they're actually much smarter than most humans I've encountered. So trees have their own life. Every form of life has its levels of awareness, but we don't all have the same type of body. But what's wrong with that? As long as there's a container of some kind, consciousness will find a way to fill it and enliven it, because that's just how Mother Nature and Prime Creator are. They love to enliven things, and they love to express their form. So if it's a form, it's got some level of consciousness associated with it or gravitated to it. The least conscious forms of life are obviously the ones created by humans, because they're the least beautiful forms. If it's a beautiful form, then consciousness will want to dwell there.
Okay, so you mentioned a lot about consciousness. Is there a consciousness field all around everybody and everything? And is there some type of energy of consciousness that's emitted from maybe the center of the universe or from our sun? Or what's your perspective on that?
Well, I like the question, but you might want to approach it a different way. Everything's made of consciousness. This word consciousness is pretty vague at this point. What I'm talking about is the fundamental substance of life, which is Prime Creator Essence. Before there was creation, something obviously existed that then made creation. You might call it Prime Creator, you might call it God, you might call it nature, you might call it yourself, whatever you want. But obviously there's some fundamental substance that existed prior to creation, and that substance decided to vibrate itself and create all these different forms of life. And depending on the rate of vibration and the form and the structure, we have all the variety of life. So you asked, is there a consciousness field? Well, you don't need a field of consciousness. You are consciousness. Everything is made of consciousness, or let's say Prime Creator, or I call it joy, or this essence of beauty. So all of life is made of this fundamental essence. So of course it's vibrating everywhere in creation. It's what creation is made out of.
Okay, so now maybe you could define the difference between the mind, body, spirit within one human form.
Okay, well, again, it's all the same substance vibrating at different rates. The body seems pretty obvious, your physical body, and you also have higher dimensional bodies. Your mind is something that is operative within your brain and nervous system, and you also have higher dimensional bodies that are mapping to your mind. You can think of your mind as sort of a magnetic bubble that surrounds your body. And so every thought you think appears in this bubble, this field around your body. People call it the aura. But it's this magnetic field. It's literally your mind. It's the radiance of your brain. Your mind is the radiant light of your brain that moves out in all directions. So when you think very strong thoughts, your magnetic field changes in specific ways. When you in general have a powerful mind, your magnetic field is bigger. And if you think in ways in which you're limiting yourself, your aura or your magnetic field shrinks a little bit.
Well, you mentioned the consciousness field and the aura. Is there a commonality between that? Is it everything like energy, in other words, but just vibrating at a different frequency?
Yeah, everything's the same pattern of life vibrating at different rates. So your mental field, if you imagine the way it pulses and vibrates with different thoughts, you could actually directly relate that to the way a pond ripples and has different formations that appear and then disappear. And you could even relate that to the way lava flows. You could even relate it to the way the patterns of a lightning storm. The patterns of life repeat at different levels and at different levels of density and physical solidity and higher and lower levels of energy. It's all these same patterns that are fundamentally just good, beautiful patterns. And then Mother Nature reflects them and repeats them at different levels in order to create something called harmony. See, there's this idea of harmonic resonance. Harmonic resonance requires a degree of similitude, similarity. When you have fundamentally similar patterns, but then you create slight variations, then you achieve a sort of natural harmony. A simple proof, you know, we humans all kind of look pretty similar fundamentally, and that enables us to communicate, theoretically. You know, theoretically, it enables us to sort of interact in a harmonious way. Maybe I should pick animals as a better example. All rabbits kind of look kind of similar, so they can interact with each other. They can have different rabbits who have different personalities. They can all kind of get along because they have certain similarity. Oh, you have 2 ears just like me. You know, oh, you know, you like the same diet that I like. So because of similarity, harmony is enabled. Now take this concept to a more fundamental level. Your mind is its own kind of substance, water is its own kind of substance, air is its own kind of substance, but because they operate in similar patterns and similar ways, they're in harmony with each other. So that uniting structure of creation that makes all of life be in a state of harmony and beauty are these fundamental patterns of life that are present at every level.
Okay. So with back to humanity, we perceive things with what most recognize as the 5 senses. What's going on outside of what we can perceive? A lot, would you say?
Well, if you're thinking of physical human beings in this dimension, where you're thinking most humans of this dimension are thinking of this planet are only thinking of this dimension, the physical plane. Furthermore, they're only thinking of this planet, which is even more limiting. So the range of awareness of a physical human being of planet Earth is about as small as it gets. All animals on this planet have a much greater range of consciousness. They can move freely through the dream realm and the physical world, and they can talk mentally, and they have quite a range of emotion, whereas humans are about the most limited unconscious thing there is at the moment. It's funny, though, because they think the fanciest thing on the planet, yet they're the ones destroying the planet. So right. I don't really agree with their conclusion that they're the smartest thing in town, because they're the only creatures on the planet that habitually hurt themselves, who are weak and ugly and are killing the planet and are literally a dying race. You know, the rabbits are nowhere near extinction. The rabbits are not killing themselves off. The humans, they don't change their ways, are killing themselves off. I don't call that very intelligent. So the most limited kind of consciousness creature on this planet is the human being. However, the human being has the potential to be the most aware, most multidimensional creature on this planet, but they're not utilizing that potential. So what's going on beyond the range of the consciousness of the modern human on planet Earth? Everything. What is the human capable of perceiving? Everything. There's no limits on the human being, but the human being has to utilize its potential. It has to eat properly, sleep properly, exercise, and love itself, and then there's no limits on what the human can perceive. The answer to your question is certainly not finite. What's going on beyond the 5 senses? Your senses actually are operative in the higher planes and in other dimensions just as much as in the physical. When I talk to angels, I can smell things that they show me. I can touch them and feel them. The senses are not limited. It's the human being's use of the senses that is limited. Your senses can perceive anything in the universe in any dimension if you train them, but you have to love the body. And then the range of consciousness of the human being is in.
How could a person, one of the viewers here, how could they even start to become more aware of what's going on around them rather than what they've been taught all their life? And I mean, we see variances in humanity, like psychics or mediums or people that can astro travel. And I mean, we call it paranormal, but I really think it's normal. We just are limiting ourselves in our ability to see what's the potential for all of humanity.
So you're saying, how can they expand their range of consciousness, their sensory perceptions?
Right.
Well, funnily enough, It may seem counterintuitive, but the way that you understand the universe better is by first spending more time with you, with your own body. So the fundamental concept I'd love to leave the viewers with today is that you are your own power source. You have power of your own. You don't need something beyond you. The idea of eating food and receiving sunlight should not make you think that all your power comes from outside of you. You're not nourished by food alone. Actually, that sounds like a biblical reference. You're not nourished by food alone, but by this inner power that is within you. And so you can't get all your power from external sources, and that should prove to you that there's a certain amount of power that comes to you from within, from inside. And simple proof of this, if your emotions are happy, you have a energy. Even if you eat everything normally, if your emotions are not feeling so good, then you don't even want to get out of bed. So you obviously have an inner power source that has nothing to do with external food sources. So therefore, you have inner power. Now, if you cultivate that inner power, you've got a lot more. And so if you realize that you have an inner power source, that means spending time with self is a very good idea, because you have your own power. So why not cultivate it and see how much of it there is? You'll find it's infinite. So if you want to increase your range of perceptions, you want to accomplish something. To accomplish anything, to do anything, you need power. Well, why not try obtaining that power from within? You want to increase your range of perceptions, astral travel, levitate, teleport, talk to angels, have a good day instead of a bad day. You want to do something, try looking within your own body as your power source. Many people introduce the idea of introspection or looking within or meditation, but I want to make it a whole lot more physical and a whole lot more obvious. If introspecting means looking within what? Looking within your mind? Maybe, but how about you look within your body? You're your body in this dimension. Look within your body and see what you find in there. You'll see there's a bunch of organs, and what you'll discover as you play with them is they have infinite potential to grow. The more they grow, the more powerful you become. And the more powerful you become, then your sensory perceptions can increase. You can be happy all the time. You can change your future. You can adjust your past. You can get the job you wanted. You can beautify your body. You can accomplish anything. But fundamental starting point is, I would say, look within your body and see what's in there. Start to cultivate your own inner power source.
Great. Could you explain to the listeners how they could tap into their inner knowing?
Okay, so inner knowing, I'm going to relate knowing with wisdom and intuition for the sake of this example. So if you want to cultivate your inner wisdom, that's in your brain nervous system. If you want to cultivate physical beauty, that's in your pelvic sphere. If you want to cultivate inner wisdom and intuition and knowing what to do with your life, that's in your brain. Your brain helps you with simple tasks like sensing the world around you and not bumping into walls and but it also helps you with fancier things, like not bumping into potentials and futures that you don't want anything to do with, not even encountering situations that you would be happy to encounter. So your brain is a very powerful instrument of guidance and inner knowing, as you say. So to tap into your brain, I'd recommend one of several techniques. The one I'll talk about today would be to deeply feel in the center of your head at the same level as your eyebrows. If you go into the center of your head, same level as the eyebrows, there's a gland there, pineal gland. As you stimulate it, your inner knowing, as you call it, starts to increase. Your sense of just innate understanding. You don't need a reason to understand it, you just do. That's the very idea of intuition, is knowing something without any external information being supplied. How do you know? Well, actually you are being given information, but it's not from an external source. It's from your inner power source.
Okay, thank you. We're going to take a break now, and when we come back, we'll be talking more with Ramanathan Iyer.
Want from the all-powerful Oz a brain.
People wonder how I got to be the all-knowing Wizard of Oz. I go to USA.gov, the official source for government info.
Pick up the student loan form to your right. Next!
I want to go back to Kansas.
Oh, that's a toughie. Back to USA.gov, passport applications.
For federal and state government information, there's no place like USA.gov.
Scientists are constantly discovering new ways to protect our children. now, important scientific research shows how to protect our children right here. Fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and other vegetarian foods help prevent weight problems, heart disease, and cancer from occurring later in life. For a crash course in feeding your kids right, call 866-906-WELL.
Hey, Joe.
Welcome back to Universal Talk. And we got Ramanathan Iyer here from New Jersey, Pennsylvania. And we're going to talk a little bit more about Rama and what he does. He has a website. And would you like to give the viewers your website and maybe discuss a little bit what they could find on your website?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, my website is evernewjoy.com, which is E-V-E-R, ever, N-E-W, new, joy, J-O-Y.com. And it's all one word, no spaces or hyphens, evernewjoy.com.
Okay.
And you can find there, I have a lot of free audio information, also a lot of free songs. I think I have about 16 songs that are all very different that I've composed that contain healing energies to help you tune into different parts of nature in your own body, you know, like lightning and your own physical atoms. That's the most recent song that I released, and joy and happiness and beauty and stuff like that. So there's a whole bunch of free songs, and also have about 40 hours, more than 40 hours of free self-healing information, training you to heal yourself. And it's all complimentary, and it's all, if you just sign up for my newsletter, which is also free, it's just all there for you. And then I also have services. I offer remote healing sessions. I offer telephone sessions, email sessions. I have pre-recorded telecalls that I've done in the past that you can buy. You can also order custom sessions, custom remote healing. So there's a whole bunch, like more than 30 remote healing sessions on different aspects of life and self-healing, like connecting to your own power source or healing your emotions, stuff like that, all kinds of things.
Great. Okay, so, you know, we have like an hour with each show to try to save the world, and we got probably about, I don't know, 30 minutes left, maybe 40. And let's go into maybe your perspective of time and how it's limiting to think of it in the linear way that most people on this planet look to it as. Like, what else could we know about time other than the limiting factor of linear time, the way we look at it?
Okay, well, if we're going to properly understand time, we should probably go back to the beginning. Before creation existed, there were no points of differentiation, meaning you couldn't distinguish point A from point B. There was no distance. We were all one cosmic being of infinite joy and beauty, and creation did not exist. Form did not exist. So without form, you can't have time, because there's no way to distinguish time except by the movement of form. You can't measure. What is time? Time is a measurement of something. Time is a measurement of movement of some kind. And so without distance and without differentiation, there's no time. So in order for time to exist, form has to exist. And in order for form to exist, there has to be point A and point B, because you can't create the outline of a human being or any form if there's not a way to create space and separation between points and to create variety among those different points. You have to be able to have space and differentiation. So to do all this, we had to create creation. To create the show of life, we had to multiply ourselves. We were one cosmic being. We had to multiply. We had to create many of us. And then we have now, and always had to create a universe in which to dwell, a cosmic body. So now we have space, and now we have different points of differentiation. Now we can put them together like a string of atoms and create form. And so now we have space and separation and differentiation, and it's all just part of beauty. It's part of form and fun. And now that these forms exist, now we can measure their movements and measure the distances between them, and now we can create time. Can't create time without distance and form. So if you think of time as a measurement of movement of some kind, then realize that the way in which you measure time doesn't have to be the Gregorian calendar in modern times. You know, that's a very limited way to measure time, because the rate at which the universe vibrates and the rate at which the universe grows and changes, and the rate at which the actual movements of life occur, that's ever accelerating. So time isn't finite, where time is the movement of the universe. The Gregorian calendar, however, is very finite, and it's still operating the same way it did many, many years ago. It's a very finite and broken structure. So on planet Earth, people use an external system to measure time. In nature, the way you measure time is through your brain and nervous system. It sounds like such an obvious thing to say, but if you really let me flesh this out, you'll see it's not so obvious. At least it's very important, even if it's obvious to you, that, oh, of course we use our brain and nervous system to measure time, because we use our brain and nervous system to measure movement. Yeah, that's true theoretically, but not many people do. Not many people really use their brain to understand the movement of life and the movement of time. They rely on clocks, they rely on external measurements, and they rely fundamentally on an external power source to really tell them, oh, this is what time it is. You know, if there wasn't someone to tell you what time it was in Gregorian calendar time, you wouldn't know. And that's my fundamental proof. You don't know they're right. They could be wrong for all you know. It's a totally artificial system. You have no fundamental inner way to know what time it is and what's really happening in your universe. If you use your brain and nervous system instead, then you have an ability to measure the movement of the universe on your own. And the great advantages of this is that when you measure time your own way, you can stay in touch with the way the universe is actually flowing. There are days on planet Earth where time is moving faster and slower. The whole universe is pulsing at different rates. You know, the fundamental movement of the atom is not finite. The atoms can move at different rates depending on the fluxes and flows of the universe itself. So the movement of the universe is not finite. And if you really want to be in touch with nature and your body and the universe, you have to learn to understand time in a new way and really experience the living pulsing universe through your body. And the more you relax your brain, relax your mind, and expand your sense of consciousness to fill the universe, you'll see that time is a spiral. It's ever increasing. The universe is always accelerating and finding better and better ways to evolve and faster ways to be. And the Gregorian calendar is stuck in the dark ages. It's so far behind. And it keeps you trapped in sort of, as you say, linear way of thinking, where time is just a steady tick-tock, always the same, never changing. And what that prevents you from doing is evolving effectively. Because then you think, oh, well, it'll take me a certain amount of time to evolve. It'll take me a certain amount of time to change this habit, when it really doesn't take time to do anything. Because time is just movement. And that's like, you can move as fast as you want if you really try. If you really work at it, you can move and grow and alter yourself as quickly as you want. But this limited sense of time makes you feel like, oh, well, it's always going to take this amount of time, and I might as well not even try, because it'll take years to heal this habit of mine. Actually, you can heal it this very instant if you move chemicals in your brain and all the thoughts in your mind effectively and eliminate all interest in the bad habit. And then it's gone, but you might have lived 1,000 lifetimes in 1 minute in order to work out that habit pattern and be like, okay, I'm done with this. I've had quite enough of this habit. I'm done with it. You might have lived 1,000 lifetimes in the span of several minutes. Time is not finite. Time has lots of potential to grow and change. It's no more limited and finite than any other structure in the universe.
Okay. So you just mentioned various lifetimes, and, there are many people that feel that we live one lifetime and you have to get it right. And then if you don't, then you go to heaven or hell. Do you feel that we live many lifetimes?
Yeah, you'd be hard pressed to even figure out how to use this body properly in one lifetime. The human body is it takes a lot of practice to walk. Just ask any baby. It takes a lot of practice to really understand the nuances of movement and coordinate all the various structures of your body. Even to learn, and how do you explain people who can learn to play piano so well at a very young age, or people who go to places and say, haven't I been here before? And it's like a prior lifetime, or people who look like people from the past, almost exactly, and there's just no question about it. They look so similar. How do you explain all this? There's no way to explain all this in a model of creation. We only live one lifetime. And furthermore, just ask yourself, would it make any sense to force a creature to try to learn everything about life in one lifetime, and if they mess up, oh well, too bad, and if they do well, great, but then you don't get to play, you don't get to enjoy the rewards of all your hard work. It doesn't make any sense that in the infinite, ever-new universe, that you'd be limited and finite to a mere span of a few years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So use your common sense, you know. Is that any fun? If it's not fun and beautiful, trust me, it has nothing to do with creation.
Okay, we can take some callers now. The number here is 946-8496. If you have any questions for Rama, please give us a call. The number again is 946-8496. Okay, let's see, Rama, what do we got next for you here? How about the mind-body-spirit connection? We were talking a little bit about it. We talked about time. You know, maybe we could go into the energy centers of the body and what your view is. Obviously, you're an energy healer. You said you do remote healing. So how does that work? If there is no limitation in time or space, then you could actually have the potential to heal other people from a distance. Is that correct?
Yeah. Actually, one of my favorite examples is I had a client in Europe who wanted to increase her physical beauty. That was the session that she ordered. So I'm in New Jersey, United States, and she's in United Kingdom, and so we're like not only hours apart in Gregorian calendar time, we're like 5 or 6 hours apart. We're, you know, thousands of miles away, and across the Atlantic Ocean is between us physically. Yet she emailed me and said, I want a session to increase physical beauty. I did the healing session. She woke up the next day, and she was very happy with the results in the mirror. And the reason I was able to do that is because I know what she's asking for. Everything that you want in life relates to certain parts of the body, as you said, different energy centers, or in my case, different organ centers. Everything that you want to achieve, every form and force and state of consciousness and thought pattern, anything you want, it relates to different parts of the body. She wanted physical beauty of appearance, which is the skin, and the surface, which is blood. And so when I did her healing session, I basically trained her body to cultivate greater blood flow and then use that blood to heal the body and reform it in different ways that would be a better fit for her soul pattern. And that's what you call physical beauty. So she was very happy with the results because I just trained her body because I knew what she wanted. And how did I train her body from thousands of miles away? It's very simple. You can teach a computer to do something from 1,000 miles away through the internet. You can train, people can use your computer far away. Pretty much everyone's probably familiar with this at this point. Someone who's helping you in IT, helping you to fix a problem with your computer, they can actually take control of your mouse from thousands of miles away. You can do that. Why can't you help someone's brain thousands of miles away? Your brain is a computer, but the internet that you're using is the magnetic network of the sun and gravity. So through the gravitational field of the planet, I send signals to their brain, and I always do this in harmony with their highest self. I never do something to someone unless their highest self approves, and I never do anything directly anyway. All I do is provide a plan, and then I tell their higher self and their body to build it if they like it. So I never do anything to a client. I allow their higher self to participate because I'm not here to control anyone. I'm here to help them. I'm here to facilitate their evolution. So I simply give their higher self the plan and say, customize this plan, this blueprint to your specific needs. And then their highest self gets involved and starts to modify their physical brain and nervous system emissions, magnetic emissions. And those magnetic emissions, which you might call the fluxes and flows of the DNA system, that DNA system then sends new sets of instructions to their cells. Their cells change. They change the way they're using their nutrients. The whole larger forces of the body, like blood and air, change their flow, and then the body is modified. It all starts with a plan, a blueprint, a code of light that I send to them through the magnetic field of the planet.
Okay. So you mentioned higher self several times. Can you define that for the viewers?
Yeah, that's a great question. You could think of your highest self as you in perfection, being absolutely the way you always wanted yourself to be, physically, form-wise, as well as mentally, emotionally, everything. Your highest self is infinitely above, and it's who you have always been. Prior to the existence of creation, you existed. You were always in existence. You may not have all the sort of personal traits and habit patterns that you have now, but you fundamentally existed because you are prime creator, essence of everything. So prime creator and highest self to me are the same thing, and it's what you fundamentally are. You are infinite beauty and joy, and you take on a body or a series of bodies, a higher dimensional system of bodies, including your physical body, to express yourself, to play. When the body dies, you continue. When all your bodies disappear, you continue. Even if every body you ever had in every dimension just disappeared, you would still exist, because you precede form. You precede creation. You've been here from the beginning. And so that's what I call the highest self. When I say higher self, that could be any of your higher dimensional bodies, but usually I mean your prime creator, highest self essence. And you've always existed, you have infinite power, and you use your different bodies to express that power in different ways.
Okay. Okay, so now could you maybe take a minute and define what ego means to you?
That word doesn't mean anything to me, because it's a misnomer created in modern times to confuse people. And it's really saying that there's a part of you that is apart from the self, wants to be apart from the self, and has a fundamental dislike of you, the soul. And, this ego is always in conflict with the soul. It's kind of this eternal battle that seems to be going on. It's all just a misnomer. There's no such thing as ego. The only thing you have is a mind. And if your mind is not feeling well, the solution is not to make fun of it, call it a bad name, and attack it, which is what people do to their egos. The solution is not to try to destroy your mind, which is what people try to do to the ego. The solution is to love whatever is misbehaving. You have a bully in school, bully is misbehaving. Bully is only misbehaving because it was mistreated by its own mother. Mistreating the bully is only to make the bully worse. If you want to make your mind heal, love it. Don't call it the ego and attack it, because then you're not going to have any mind at all, and you'll be a very miserable creature. And that's what happens to all these people who follow this ego doctrine. The ego doctrine is the teaching of the Antichrist. Antichrist means anti-self, because Christ means self, who you really are, who you truly are, which is what Jesus came to show you. You are a God creature. So Jesus came to show you that. He is a Christ figure, a representative of the self. Antichrist means anti-self, which also means anti-body, because your body is made by God. So anything that's against the human body, or against your mind, or against your soul, is against you, and is therefore anti-Christ, which is just about everything you encounter on this planet. So it's time to love your mind, and stop calling it ego, and realize that always there's a habit pattern that you have, or a tendency that you have, that you may not be entirely fond of. There's always a reason for it. If nothing else, it was put into you by an external source as programming. So don't attack your mind for it. Don't say it's your mind's fault that you're having a thought that you don't want to be having. Don't call it ego and now attack yourself. That's completely the wrong response. The correct response is to love your poor mind and say, I'm sorry you got misprogrammed by the culture. I'm going to love you and heal you. What you need to do is heal your mind, love your mind, and don't call it ego at all. It's just a bad word. It's the worst word on this planet. It's the worst curse word you'll ever hear. It makes you hate yourself, attack yourself, destroy yourself, and then you have nothing. You have to heal your mind, love your mind, embrace it as a child that's sad and unhappy, and heal it, and be like, I'm sorry, why don't you feel well? And then if you work with your mind is a very powerful tool of evolution. Without your mind, you cannot even exist in this dimension. So the solution is to love it. So I don't have any association with that word. It's a false concept.
Okay. Okay, so, there's probably some confusion out there between ego and mind, because a lot of people claim everything that you just said, but they associate it with ego rather than mind. So what I'm trying to do here is differentiate between ego and spirit and body, and maybe bring it all back towards the end of the show here. And what you have to recognize is that, if you would take the spirit or this higher self, and we all, or most people, believe that we have this inner soul about us, or this spirit. So if you take that spirit outside of this physicalness, you know all, you remember all, there is no limitation with time or anything like that. So, some people talk about a veil before our eyes, and that's why we don't remember who we are. So I want to try to bring it together in your perspective, what you feel the mind, the body, the spirit connection is, and why there seems to be a separation between humanity from birth, and the older they go, sometimes there's a great awakening, or some people experience it as a midlife crisis because they don't know how to deal with it at that particular time in their life. But can you maybe speak a little bit about the mind then, as you define it, and the spirit, and the body, when we come back from this break, okay?
Has anyone ever said, you're the picture of health? You look healthy, you feel fine, but that may not be the full picture. Colorectal cancer is the second leading cancer killer of men and women over 50. It doesn't always cause symptoms, but it can be prevented. Screening can find precancerous polyps, so they can be removed before they turn into cancer. Get screened. Make sure you are the picture of health.
Welcome back to Universal Talk. We're here with Ramanathan Iyer from New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and we're going to talk a little bit about the mind-body-spirit connection and maybe what people perceive as the separation thereof. And a lot of times we talk about this connection, the mind-body-spirit, as this new age stuff, which really, you know, more recently we've separated, and I really think we need to go back to simplicity. And we're going to talk to Rama here about the mind, the body, and the spirit. Okay, Rama, so right before we went to the break, I was talking a little bit about the mind and the body and the spirit, and if you were to take the spirit outside of the body, you become this higher self that we're talking about. And most cultures believe in the mind, body, spirit, and most religions believe that there is, you know, a soul that's housed within the body, and whether they believe that we go to heaven or hell or whatever their belief is, their afterlife, most people believe in this soul, this energy that's within us. So what keeps us from knowing everything we would know while we're in the body compared to outside the body?
Right. Well, that's such a fabulous question that you asked, because it really points to what really needs to happen on planet Earth, and it's the whole foundation of my business, which is you've clearly highlighted the body, because you're saying if we're outside the body, we know everything. If we're inside the body on the physical plane, planet Earth, we seem to forget lots of things. Why is this? Well, you've clearly identified the distinguishing trait, which is the possession of a body. It's not having a body which limits one's state of consciousness. It may seem that way if you live on planet Earth. It's the state of the body that limits your consciousness. It is not the soul which needs to evolve. It's not the soul which needs to heal. As you've clearly pointed out, your soul's already in perfection. So that's why I say spiritual evolution is body evolution, because the only thing preventing you from having infinite power and awareness right now is if the body's in a broken state. And the only thing which can enable you to perceive all the living joys of the universe is to heal the human body. So the body is the thing that needs to be evolved. The body is what needs to be healed. All the rest of you is already in perfection. So we have completely the wrong perspective on things. People seem to think, oh, we need to enlighten the soul. We need to return to the soul. You don't need to return to the soul. You came into physical creation to build a body and make it beautiful. Keep doing it. Keep making the body more and more beautiful and keep healing it. What makes everyone think that bodies are a problem is the way they treat their bodies on planet Earth. Their bodies become so limited that then they can't do much with them. But if you heal the body and awaken the potential of the physical form, you can do all kinds of things. There's no limits on you. It's just you have to heal the body, which is your primary instrument. So the mind-body-spirit connection, what's going on here? What's going on here that's limiting people's awareness and making people feel like there's a disjuncture between their mind and their intentions and their actual physical capabilities is, in fact, the broken state of the human body on planet Earth. And the majority of the brokenness is in the brain and nervous system. And if you heal the brain and nervous system and recover it, then all other things begin to heal as well. You begin to realize where you're from, why you're here, what you're doing here, and you begin to understand everything I'm saying for yourself. So I realized all this, so I created my healing business, Every New Joy, everynewjoy.com, to fix all this. So I help people heal their bodies, because the only thing, as you pointed out so wonderfully, the only thing that prevents you from being your infinite powerful self is if the body's not in a healthy state, if the body's not properly functioning. And so we have to heal the body. That's all we need to do. All your focus should be on your body, not your soul, not the higher planes, not something else, not someone else. All your focus should be on your body, because if you heal your body, your state of consciousness changes, because it's your body that is the limiting factor. Your body can also be the expansive factor, that which liberates you. You heal your different organs, focus on the different structures of your body, eat well, sleep well, exercise, and be kind to your body. Your entire perception of life and the universe begins to change. You can change the whole world in a flash. I have a simple example for you. Imagine you're looking at the world through a window, and this window is very, very dirty. And outside, there's these beautiful trees and flowers and wonderful, cute, happy animals, and the sun is shining. But because the window's dirty, it all looks grimy and miserable. It's like, oh, what a terrible world. Oh, it's so ugly. But if you take that cloth and you clean the window, and you make it all crisp and clear, all of a sudden there's this beautiful, oh my God, those flowers. Look at all the variation color of the flowers. You get the idea. So if you want to beautify the whole world and suddenly live in a different world, heal your sensory organs, heal your brain and nervous system. I promise you, it's true, it works. You know, I've done it. I've fixed my brain and nervous system at different times to different degrees, and each time there's a sudden jump in the beauty of the world around me, and I smell things better, and unless, of course, I'm smelling humanity, which never smells pleasant, just ask the animals. But if you're just in nature, and there's only nature around, the nature just keeps getting more and more beautiful, because your sensory organs are healing. That beauty was all there, but you couldn't perceive it. This is true of the higher dimensions as well. The higher planes are so beautiful, but if you are unable to perceive them, you think they don't exist. If you heal your physical organ, you heal your physical body, you perceive more of the multidimensional universe, and you perceive a beauty that was always there. So if you want to beautify the whole universe and heal the world, your perception of it, then you'll see so much change very quickly.
Okay, so if your soul is in perfection and you know everything, then what's the point of being here? Do you feel that maybe we're all children of the universe and we incarnate into these physical bodies because really we don't need to learn anything more than what we already know outside of the body? Do we come here just to create and co-create and, you know, to experience?
Well, you highlight a wonderful point. I love your questions. So you're asking, what's the point of it all? Well, let's think about that. If you think the point of life was to learn something, you're saying, and Joe is saying, well, if the point of life is to learn something, we already know it all. It can't be the point of creation, because we already know it all. So that's not the point. So I like to say you're right, and I like to highlight the real point of creation. The real point of creation is to have fun and play. Again, the fundamental reason for putting on the show of life in the physical plane is to grow a body, make it beautiful. That is the fundamental mission here. The fundamental point of starting creation at all was to create beauty. See, the premise of creation was not the start of creation was not for need. It wasn't for a problem that we needed to solve. We didn't have any problems. We didn't have any needs. There could only be one reason for starting creation. And it's the same reason that inspires an artist to throw paints on a piece of paper and create something beautiful. It's the same reason that inspires a child to pick up a few rocks and make something pretty out of it. We wanted to create beauty. That's all there was in the beginning. An interest, an inspiration to create beauty and to play. So that's still the reason you're here. It's been a while. Creation's been running for a while. It's still the reason. So you're here to create beauty. So have fun doing it. You know, enjoy your days. Realize I'm here to create beauty. And realize if you're not creating beauty, you're not doing what you came here to do. So go back to creating beauty. And start with yourself and stay with yourself. Because if you beautify your body, you'll automatically beautify everything around you. And that's why we came in, that's why we started the show of creation in the first place, to create beauty. It's the only reason we'll continue it. Everything else is just lies.
Okay, so maybe we could talk a little bit about energy now that we kind of went through the mind-body-spirit connection and some alternative theories of maybe realities and truths of humanity as a whole. I mean, we really didn't get into the limitation of humanity right now. We did discuss the body, and if we look at the what we're using in humanity, at least most, or the general population is using, what, 10% of their brain and 3% of their DNA. And we know that the geniuses on our planet have used, what, 12% of their brain. So how can you relate the DNA and the use of the brain to energy? Is there, like, if a person, is there a correlation? If a person carries a different vibrational frequency, by virtue of that, are they more intuitive, or are they using more of their physicalness?
Okay, so you're highlighting different energy levels based on the amount of DNA you're using?
Yes.
Okay, well, think of DNA as a magnetic conduit. It is a physical structure, but it's primarily a magnetic coil. It's a magnetic wire. Its whole purpose is to create a strong magnetic field around itself. Just like the wires on this planet, the wires in your houses have strong electrical fields around them, electromagnetic fields. The wires in your body, the DNA wires, they generate an extraordinarily powerful magnetic field around them. And that's what you're calling energy, I believe, in this example. It's this strong magnetic current, or as you said, vibrational frequency. So as you enhance the power of your DNA system and you heal your brain, you start to generate more and more magnetic current throughout your body, which is a physical current. It is the same force as gravity. And as you generate more and more of that powerful current, it's the same thing that's coming out of the sun, then you have a strong vibrational frequency. And the great advantage of this is that then you clear old segments of your future and your past out of your life, and you create a beautiful pattern for yourself. You clear out illnesses and you create health and beauty, because your body needs wisdom, it needs guidance, it needs information, it needs forms of beauty to pattern match. Children look to you to show them the correct way of living. They pattern match you. You do something, they do it. You do something, they do it. Your body's like a child. It needs this adult of your brain to guide it and be like, hey, this is a beautiful pattern. Please build it. So if you want to beautify your body and raise your vibrational frequency at the same time, heal your brain and nervous system, and you'll see the more your brain heals, the more magnetic current is running through your body, and then also the easier it is to create beauty.
Okay, great. So let's talk a little bit about experience and dimensions. I mean, we did talk a little bit about living several lives and also being a soul being that knows everything. And if you decide before you come into each carnation of life, there may be a plan that you decide to play out. Like you said, we come as children of the universe and play. So if that's true, then would it be important to learn about what dimension that each person is in at that particular time, because we're talking about time here, in history? So right now we view, a lot of people view where we live on this planet at this time as three-dimensional. And above that, like fourth dimensional, fifth dimensional, because you mentioned this, what is life like, or what is different about it in a higher dimension compared to a lower dimension, compared to where we are at and what we perceive right now in our experience?
Okay, so there seems to be two different ideas here, so I'm not sure which you're referring to. There's the idea, there's the physical plane, and all bodies interacting fundamentally in a physical way, made of physical atoms. Then there's higher planes of existence, like where you go when you dream at night, the astral plane, and then higher realms that are not like the physical exactly, because they're not made of solid material, but made of different substances. But there's also the idea, which you've referred to on different occasions, and also on this occasion, of different states of consciousness within the physical plane being referred to as different dimensions. So you could be a third-dimensional human being or a fourth-dimensional physical human being. Which of these two are you wanting to run with?
What's the difference between the two? Like, what would an experience be? And we only have like about 5 minutes, so maybe we could wrap this up real quick, and then I'll give you the opportunity to whatever you want to leave the listeners today. Basically, give us what's the difference in the experience of a human being in 3D compared to 4D, in your opinion?
Okay, well, again, this is the idea that as you adjust your physical form and beautify it, your state of consciousness changes and your vibratory rate rises, and you begin to see the universe in more and more beautiful ways. You understand the intrinsic harmony of life. So in I'm basing this all on my understanding of what you mean by 3D and 4D.
Right.
You're talking about a 3D human being as someone who only sees crude physical matter and doesn't see the unity behind life.
Right.
A fourth-dimensional creature who's still physical human being, sees more of the unity of life. And they are fundamentally different kinds of creatures, because a fourth-dimensional creature will want to just play and be happy and will never do something to hurt someone else, because it knows that it's going to hurt itself if it does that. Whereas a 3D human will just happily blow everything up and not care, because it doesn't see that it's affecting itself so directly. Mm-hmm. So the difference between 3D and 4D is the degree to which you perceive that everything you do, you're doing to yourself. And the more and more of yourself that you see in the universe around you, the more and more gently you treat the universe. If you see yourself in a tree, you're kind to it. You won't chainsaw it to pieces. you'll see, oh my God, that would hurt me, because you feel yourself in the tree. You would never hurt a bug, because you're like, oh, well, I'm in that bug, and that bug is a part of me. So the more and more you perceive yourself, those are the different levels of these higher dimensions that you're speaking of. And it never ends, because yourself is infinite. Mm-hmm. But the more you understand of yourself, the more lovingly you'll treat the universe.
Okay, great. So one question I like to pose is, what if that's what Jesus was teaching when he came on this planet, and what if he carried a fifth dimensional vibratory rate or frequency, and is that why he could do what he could do with healing? And so when I talk about vibratory frequencies or raising your vibrational frequency, I think there's a correlation with dimensions and perspective along with that, and the abilities that each human being has. And I think we have a higher potential than what we particularly right now perceive, and we limit it by our education and the influences over our lifetime through the media and whatnot. So one thing, we got about 2 minutes left. Is there anything in like 30 seconds or less that you could leave our listeners with, Rama?
Well, the thing I ended with, which is that the more you understand yourself, the more you will treat the universe in a loving way, the more you'll beautify your body, and the happier you'll be. But the thing to understand is that in this physical world, yourself is your body. So love your body, love your body, love your body. And then all things in your life will begin to improve. And it's the whole purpose of my healing site. My healing website, evernewjoy.com, is to help you to beautify your body.
Okay. I want to thank you for being on the show, and we're going to, of course, have you back. We just scratched the surface of this thing called life.
Yeah, fun to be here.
Great. Okay, for all the viewers out there that want more of Universal Talk, tune into the radio talk show tonight from 8 to 10 Eastern Daylight Saving Time by logging on to www.universaltalk.info. We'll be discussing the gathering of the forces of light. And thank you all for tuning into our show. If you like the show or dislike the show, any other suggestions for future content for future shows, email me at universaltalking@gmail.com. Or if you missed some of the show and would like to listen to the content or would like to refer a friend, simply log on to my website at www.universaltalk.info. And this is Joe Marra signing off for Universal Talk. Simple to understand these concepts, but as I'm talking, I'm like, oh my gosh, I wonder what these people are thinking. They're probably like, oh, you're nuts. Yeah, sure, we're God. Yeah, right. So, you know what? It was fun. We're children of the universe playing here, you know what? And we created this thing so we can, do this banter back and forth. And you know, I got to